Hello. Hi, I'm
Hi,
Jon
everyone.
Binnie.
And I'm
And
Natasha Rocha. Nice to meet you.
yay. Welcome along, everyone. And thank you for joining our podcast today. And we're here to both introduce the problems that our podcast will be covering over the coming weeks, months, years, and also our own experiences. So, this is our first podcast in a whole series that we'll be doing every week or so, and we're really looking forward to meeting with lots of people and understanding all about their experiences and the sorts of problems. If I segue a little bit into those, the sorts of problems that we're interested in sharing in this podcast are our experiences of stress, anxiety, burnout in the workplace and and our lives, because often the two are intrinsically coupled together. And there's really no limitations to those discussions. We're here for transparency, openness, and honesty. We're also not here to sell you anything. And we're here to also just hold space and hear all about your experiences, share what resonates in our journeys, and also if we've been able to find anything that's helped us on those journeys and based on our experience. And finally, one thing that we'll do with every episode is we'll do a short meditation towards the end. So stick around for that if you're interested, because we'd love to personalize a meditation based on the different challenges, the problems that we raise in the podcast. One meditation won't fix all your problems, but it's a good start in helping you understand there's an oasis of calm just waiting for you to connect with each day if that's something you choose to do. Okay, so, Natasha, since I did the introduction, uh, perhaps you'd like to briefly introduce yourself, please.
Absolutely. And I'd also like to talk about our journey as well and how we came together in this, because it is definitely part of the journey. And quite interesting in the fact that we used to work together probably about 20 years ago,
Yep.
like something like that. And, very, very much into the corporate world. And then we went our separate ways, and then both had an awakening and have come together and have realized that we went through some of the same stresses, some of the same stresses, and we'd come out on the other side quite similarly. And yeah, having that conversation a couple of weeks ago in the sense of going, hey, we really need to help people that have gone through the same, you know, um, journey as we have in order to support them, because it's so scary to come. Sometimes it can be scary coming out on the other side of it, doing that jump, that leap. So yes, my name is Natasha Rocha. I've worked very much in the corporate world, very much into spirituality on a family basis. Never thought I could do it to support people. I had always this grave interest in becoming a psychologist, and helping people, mentally, emotionally, but it didn't end up being part of on the cards at that time. So I ended up finding myself, in marketing, which is a different kind of psychology, I suppose, in that sense. And I absolutely loved what I did. And yeah, being from South Africa, there's kind of like a bit of a different mindset in the sense that, we push through everything and we thrive on stress, and I still thrive on stress, but I kind of like in this more of a positive stress nowadays. But yeah, absolutely 100% dedicated myself to what I was doing, 100%, and then started finding out that as life went on, the pressures of work came on, and then that started getting a little bit stressful. And then at that stage, we decided to expand our family, and children started coming into the picture, which is absolutely wonderful. And I found, as a new mom, but also wanting to pursue a very much a corporate career and achieve in those, there started to be a lot of those stresses that started to come in in trying to manage both worlds as well. And I also went through that aspect of when I come back to my job, it felt like that position that I loved so much was also starting to get threatened. Um, So yeah, that kind of like shifted things, and that was quite stressful. And then I think as humans, we're just pushed to like, just push through this week, or we'll just push through this month, or we'll just, it's just this year. We're going to make those changes. And then all of a sudden, my body started to kind of like go, excuse me, hello, slow down, take a minute or two. So I did that in that job, changed jobs, and then decided to go live in Canada for a little bit. And I went from Edinburgh, Scotland to Canada, and it was quite stressful in the sense of kind of like adjusting to different culture, different place, different area, different industries as well, especially where I landed. It was very much oil and gas focused as opposed from technical, but I mean, product to product. I mean, marketing is what it is. So there was kind of like those stresses of coming in. And then I found workplace bullying for a second time and never had experienced that before. And that really did take a toll on my life. And it got to a stage where I was starting to see a very physical outcome where I said to my husband at the time, it's like, something's got to give. And I need, like, my body just can't do this anymore. I mean, my gums were all kind of like, it hammered my gums. Like I ended up breaking my leg in 5 places.
Wow.
I had I'd moved to Canada and I was like, okay, I'm going to join some kind of sports thing because I love physical activity and always played sports. And I was like, I'm going to join a bottom of the league, mom and pops beer league. Not that I drink beer, and it's just going to be fun, right? And I realized how competitive I actually was because I think it was the second game of the season, and my team was pretty relaxed. We were there to just have fun. It was a bonus that we won quite a lot of the games and moved up the league. But I remember it was myself and another bats person coming in, and I was like, we were so close, and I'm like, I need to get this run in. And I was running from first to second, not knowing what the rules were, and the ball just came in, and my foot hit something, and I ended up breaking it in 5 places, and it was brutal. It was brutal, and at the time, things weren't going so well at work. Super, super stressed, and I was like, I can't be off work, so I ended up being taken off the pitch by an ambulance to the hospital. I was so embarrassed. Thank goodness there were a bunch of nurses on our team because I had a whole bunch of people like, I can help you, move through this. And I still remember thinking, my leg is no longer attached to my foot. I just don't know where it is, right? Anyway, I got to the hospital, and that we're so used to kind of like just push through the pain. And I was like, okay, just slap on a cast and off we go, 6 weeks, whatever. And they were like, no, you need to slow down. And I was like, what are you talking about? Just put the cast on. I need to go. I'm working tomorrow. Just like place it in there. And they were like, no, we're keeping you overnight and you need surgery. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, nope, you're going to be off for 6 months. And I was like, what? And it
Wow.
was a full kind of like, slow down, take care, like stop kind of a thing. And then it was dealing with the mental aspect of that. I'm not going to work. What's going to happen? That it's still learning to walk again, the irony, learning to slow down and walk again. And we just try and rush through that, right? Because there's that need to get out there, need to get out there. And then eventually it threw me into really starting to take care of myself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And then it took me more into the kind of like, Reiki master, craniosacral therapy, working within the Akashic records, reactivating that. And somebody said to me, you need to do this to help people. And I said, no, like, how can I do that? Like, no, this is scary. What are all my corporate people going to think? Holy, like, who is this woo-woo Natasha over there? Kind of a thing. And then I started noticing that I did the healing, and I think that's important. Really looked within to see, and still do, because it's an ongoing thing. And then started supporting others and empowering others to step into their passion, their purpose, and to do their healing. And I realized that it really is a journey of walking beside people rather than trying to fix it, or it really is like, how can I support you? How can I be of service? And that shifted quite quickly. Although there was a lot of resistance because it's what I knew. The scary part is doing the big jump into the unknown and the worry of the judgment of what will people think,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. How about you, John?
Wow. Yeah. And I just want to hold space like you. Um, Thank you for sharing your journey. And I I also pick up on like your energy now. That's one thing I also want to reflect on for both of us. Our energy is actually pretty high. Like we're really happy people. We have gone through hard times, and I you brought back like that experience so vividly, and it definitely resonates with me. Like that is a really hard moment when you're in your life when you just your body says no,
Mhm.
no more. It's like you know, it's easy to react and feel like your body's like somehow it's a mutiny. Like your mind is the captain of the ship and everything's going fine. But at some point, the crew, you're and the ship itself will go, no, like we're just going in circles, or we're, concentric circles, or whatever it is that's going
Mm.
badly wrong. Um, and yeah, that was definitely a big realization for me as well, was like the partnership with our bodies. And actually our bodies are so much more sentient and helpful partners than we give them credit. I feel that's a journey for me also. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Yeah, so my turn. I won't put it off anymore.
Mhm.
So hi, I'm Jon Binnie. I am, as of today, it's not my birthday, but I'm 47 years old, and I have been in the software engineering and more latterly artificial intelligence development industry for just over 26 years. And I started out doing uh, at university learning what was called back then in the 90s computer science and software engineering. And I went through like a series of development jobs and quite quickly into management. I think I was in management within 2 or 3 years. And and partly I always felt like I had lots of bad managers. And and I felt like I could do that better. I could learn how to do that. Little did I know how hard it is to manage people. Um, yeah, I went through many different jobs, about 10 different companies in those 26 years, and the last 8 years was in was in a big global corporate, and I started my career really like chasing all these I don't know, Western culture kind of tick boxes or goals that we kind of set ourselves, we program ourselves to believe are fantastic things that make us happy, right? So a house, a beautiful wife, kids, got two beautiful children. Um, I chased job titles, salaries, companies, scope of work, and I steadily over I think till about 2012, um, 2013, I was busy chasing all those tick boxes, and I was increasingly dropping any hobbies that I had. So I'd stopped. I had been just when my kids were born. I'd been in a pub covers band, so I was doing music every weekend and dancing, mostly sober, dancing on tables and bars and having great fun. And I stopped that, and I stopped playing music at home, and that was like a red flag, but I just ignored it. It's like, it's fine. In fact, even my boss, who I met up with again recently, it's like, why did you stop at that time? That was silly. I told you to keep going with your passions. Like, no, I need a job title. No. And I was like, keep going, keep going. So I was in this, this kind of empire building mode of like, I want to, manage more and more people. I think up at that time, it was about 70 people that I was managing, building all kinds of different software solutions, even in that one company, included uh, serious game simulations, like 3D simulations for the fire services and firefighters, army recruitment services, and uh, web applications, native mobile apps. And I've also done a lot of things like online banking systems and things like games and just normal websites. And so in the last, I did have a very unpleasant. And when you spoke about that bullying part, I did enter a very toxic company briefly, And I experienced some of the worst bullying I've ever experienced personally, and like it was shocking. I mean, it still is to reflect on now. Um, and then what I found myself in was this position where I was like, I went through this like reboot. I was like, well, I was chasing all the job titles, all the money, great, and I was like I wanted to become a chief technology officer, and I was that for two different companies. And then I was like, but in this very difficult company to work in, I find myself questioning that. I was like, why did I chase that? Why was that so important? So I then left and went into my last job for 8 years. And what was great about that kind of reboot was it allowed me to start with a small team. I started with 4 people. And at the time I left, just at the end of April this year, it was about 36 people. And we'd stopped growing in the last couple of years. And it was like, actually, I realized that I enjoyed, doing things with customers and quite small teams. And I enjoyed like innovating. And I loved the responsible artificial intelligence domain. Like I thought that was really fantastic. But even as I built that relatively, some might call that a small empire, um, I found people around me were struggling with stress and anxiety. And I was too close minded, I think, to really acknowledge that I was going through that too. And
Mm-hmm.
more scarily, that I was very good at it. Like I was very good, very high tolerance for stress and anxiety. And that did not make me a sympathetic, empathetic manager. And I'd often be like, nice. And I believe I never lost my humanity. But at the same time, like it's almost as bad, right? When you're that manager that's like, it's okay. I understand that it's difficult for you. Is there any way you can do it for tomorrow? It's like, it doesn't matter how
Yeah.
you polish that poo. It's like, it's still a poo and you still need to address that. And some of those people left and they were managers managing the teams that I built. And I quickly found myself just over 2 years ago in like just dangerously close to burnout. And
Mm-hmm.
I, I was in situations where just firefighting every day to get through the day. End of the day, I would, go straight to bed as early as I could, just so I could like survive the next day. And then the weekends, really, all I would do is um, sleep in as long as I could on in the mornings, go and do something for a few hours during the day with the family. But even then, it's like 2 or 3 hours, and then the rest of the time, all I could do is like sit in a sofa or
Mm-hmm.
just, not be working, because my body was like, we can't do any of these things. It includes fun things, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to spend more time with my family back then. And all of this latterly, I'd gone, was running in parallel with my awakening. And my awakening was in 2017 when I started meditating each day. And that, if if anything, like, and I think this is something that Natasha and I are very passionate about, is that if anything, it enabled me when meditating every day to take on even more stress and more anxiety, because I was able to say to my body for 10 minutes each day, there, Jon, it's okay. We're going to be okay. Look, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, we can do it. We're in this together. We can do it. And yeah, eventually I just said to my wife, I was like, see, like your conversation, Natasha, I was like, I've got to stop. Something's got to give.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, 2 years ago, I applied to go part time, which was as a senior manager in a global corporate, is like really rare. I only knew of one other, and but they inspired me, and I was like, so I went down to 3 days a week, much to the unhappiness of many, because it was quite an exception. Um, but it made a world of difference, and suddenly all these things that I was doing, like meditations for people, I'd been doing by then. I'd already been doing for a couple of years, like quantum energy healing for people. And instead of me turning up to these healing modalities,
Mm-hmm.
stressed and highly strung, I was increasingly like a bit more of a roller coaster. So I'd have 4 days off where it's like, it's nice and calm and everything's good. And then I'd go ramp right back up to that highly caffeinated, highly pressurized. stressful work environment for 3 days, often working 30, 40 hours in 3 days, and then calm again. And I remember each time this went on for, especially in the first year, my body was like, I don't know what you're doing, Jon. It's like, what? It's like the ship is like calm waters, and it's like, oh, it's like everything's on fire for 3 days, like calm, then um, and so in the second year of that, I did start to think more seriously. Okay, like how can I ultimately leave, but also make a difference in this world. And I qualified as a mindfulness teacher and started meditating, running meditations each week for the people in the Edinburgh office in Scotland. And that expanded out a bit to around some of the European offices, and and that helped me see and become very even more passionate, and even give me even more conviction to feel like there's big problems beyond just Jon and his decision to go part-time for 2 years and then eventually leave and start his own business. It's much more than that. Like, so many of us are struggling with this, and it's not that it's just bad for our health. It it is it is deadly serious. And I use that word intentionally, and I'm very sad to lost a team member.
Mm.
um and I felt like, whatever the exact causes were, I felt part of that picture. I was part of their life. I was their manager, and it was very sad to see them stressed. And then after a long period of illness, and they're trying to recover, that they eventually died. And it really helped me realize that there's there's more we can do for each other. And I'm not saying, we can save each other's lives. We can't do that either. But we can raise the visibility of stress and anxiety. And hopefully, if any of our stories resonate with you, at least show that there's a risk of burnout in the way that you're behaving right now, if you're keeping pushing every day and you're not taking time for your passions and the things that you love in your life, and trying to achieve a balance or finding a path to achieving it.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing. And that's absolutely coming from very different perspectives. And I love how you said that meditation just allowed you to be able to cope better and do more. And I think that is very important, because a lot of the times we look at band-aid situations. Just take a week off, it'll be fine. And we go back to the same things. And I think the seriousness of not, I think, getting to the core of what is happening physically, mentally, and emotionally is important. And it's dangerous if we don't. And people, as you say, I'm really sorry about your colleague that you lost, but it gets to that phase where it's just, where does it stop?
Mm.
Right. And I think bringing the awareness of when you're leading to it is so important, because sometimes we don't know that that is where we're heading until, you know, something happens. I remember going to an Ariana Huffington from the Huffington Post. She did a big talk once,
Mhm.
and she used to, and that's the thing. So we all talk about, oh, let's smash it till this time of the morning and that time in the morning. And I think she passed out and bumped her head one day in her office. And I think that was her awakening. That's what she spoke about at that conference. And her important thing is sleep. She
Mm.
actually says, sleep your way to the top, because that is that restful period, kind of a thing. So you need
Yeah.
that time of rest. And I think that's what she realized there, it's unbalanced,
Mhm.
you know, and you don't know until something happens. And with looking at more of the mental, emotional, energetic aspect of it, the last protocol is the body. When the body says, okay, enough's enough. And I commend you on your bravery for saying, this isn't working for me. I need to go down to 3 days. It's not heard of. It doesn't matter. this is what I need. And that's important, because a lot of the times we fear, what will our managers say? What are what other people think? You know, kind of thing. And we don't really ask for what we need
Yeah.
anymore. There's this fear of losing one's job, losing one's position, losing one's friends, losing one's network. And that fear stops us for actually, and I don't know if it's completely fear, or if it's a, where do we start losing our value as people, our value as mom, parents, sisters, brothers, daughters? Where do we start aligning our values where we become our work?
Yeah.
And that's very much a mindset that I grew up in. Like, the business doesn't have a heart. You just need to show up. You know, you don't need to like somebody to work with them. Like, literally, these are things that are like, just show up, just keep going.
Yeah.
But yet we don't show up for ourselves in the same manner. We don't show up for ourselves. So that is quite an amazing thing, that you're like, I know that this isn't what things are normally like, but this is what I'm needing right now. So I'm going to ask for it. And that, I commend you on taking that step forward, because by you choosing yourself, you, and for that other colleague that inspired you, you give others permission to start doing that as well, which
Yeah.
is so important these days.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. I wanted to touch on two strong themes, epiphanies, in these problems that we face, that are picked up on both from both of us. Like, the first is our our culture um, drives us to tightly couple, to like deeply connect our own outward, like push productivity together. I can't quite do this on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Together with our own self worth, and that the
Mm-hmm.
two are interlinked and intertwined, and
Yeah.
therefore I am because I do
Mm-hmm.
is the most one of the most destructive things we could think of, right?
Absolutely.
And that somehow it is, so that the opposite is somehow just a disaster, like that
Mm.
everything that we love in our lives will disappear if we break the two. If we said, my productivity has literally nothing to do with my self-worth, that I just love myself regardless. I
Yeah.
always love myself. I love myself when I make mistakes. I love myself when I have success. I love myself when it's raining. I love myself when it's cold. I love myself when I'm resting, because resting is productive. And I love
Yeah.
myself just 24/7. And in fact, I'm always finding ways to fill myself more with self love. And even some of those terms are a little bit triggering, right? Like, I love myself can really trigger some people's, like, oh, you love yourself. Oh, great. That's like, is there space for me in this universe of yours? You know, it's like we get these funny, we've heard celebrities saying some of these terms and getting ridiculed for it, but no one can love you as much as you can love yourself. And self love is a gift that only you can give to yourself. Only you can say, I love myself. um, and then the other really fascinating epiphany I had is that my productivity, so my capacity, I'm not sure which hand to use here, but let's just use two. So imagine like my John's total capacity to be able to serve my customers. So I choose a customer, like a group of people or all the people around the world or all around the universe, and I say, these are the problems I'm going to solve. I'm going to come up with solutions to help you. That total capacity is limited by my self-love and the act of
Mm-hmm.
self-love, my self-care. And so it's like, if my self-care is down here, and it's like, yeah, sometimes John gets a nap on a Saturday, is like, that's literally, you can just squeeze in under there. Yeah, okay, sometimes John gets to, beyond all his reports and spreadsheets and emails, gets a little bit of time, a few seconds each week to think about how to solve problems for his customer. Whereas if your self-love's right at the top, and you're much more dominant in your ability to look after yourself, then you're filling your cup, and you're with a filled cup. You can say, "Hey, world, like, I know I'm just one person, but I think I can help. I think I can help with some of your problems," and you can actually make a big difference exponentially different to and significant in size than just the poor version of me that I've seen many times in my life, where I never want to go again, of that, on the edge of burnout.
Absolutely. And it is quite triggering in the sense where you're like, oh, and I think that's the hardest thing, that whole self-love thing. It's like the touchy-feely aspect that we were taught that business, you does not show up in business. And especially as women, like, don't cry. You need to step into kind of like this role. You can't be vulnerable. Vulnerable, it equals weakness, which equals, whatever we make it mean. And that self-love aspect is not only, and the aspect of, okay, I love myself, therefore I will, but it shows up in what we eat, the people we hang out with, the time, like you said, the sleep aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
It shows us, like, where am I loving? What am I putting into my body? Is it, soul food or junk food? Like, what am I putting into my mind? What am I, surrounding my environment in that aspect? I didn't realize that it went quite that far. And I love that you said that it's like an aspect of self-love is self-care. And self-care for one person might be very different to somebody else as well. And I think these are undervalued in corporate. Absolutely undervalued in the sense because there's not seen any benefit, because like you say, what is the action reaction? Because like they're not physically tangibly seeing it, but we're also not giving it an opportunity. Because as you say, if you're giving from a place of overflow, you're giving quality. It's like trying to run a car on empty. It's not going to go very far, and you're going to have to keep fueling out as much as you
Get out and
can
push.
all the time. It's like they get out, or sometimes get out and push, or sometimes you're just stuck with a bloody flat tire and you have to sit for somebody to come and help you. But it's that aspect of continuing in it, and it's not about the cup being half full or half empty. The cup is refillable. It's continuing to refill that cup and give from overflow, because we become more, and it was the strangest concept that I had, is needing to slow down in order to speed up. We actually do become more productive when we're at a calmer nervous system, because instead of battling through trying to find something for 6 hours that we can't figure out because our nervous system is all like, oh my God, I need to get this report. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to, as a pace of, okay, let's tackle this. You're in a very different mind frame, which ends up, you become more productive in a less amount of time because your brain is functioning better. Your heart is functioning better. You're breathing through it. You're giving from overflow. You're in the space of creativity when we're in that. And problem solving is an aspect of creative. I think people also think, oh, and what I've come up with is like, oh no, I paint, I don't paint, I don't dance, I don't, no, creativity is solving problems
Yeah.
as well. So when we're giving from that place of overflow, we're actually more productive. And we're affecting the people around us. It's like you say, a smile can affect up to 250 people,
Wow.
within a day, because you smile and somebody, yeah, absolutely. It changes 2 or 3 people who
Yeah.
then change the people that they interact with. You change somebody's day, that love, that compassion, that what you're putting out there. And it's the same thing as if you're in a bad mood or you're something, what are we projecting out there? We don't actually realize the amount of people we affect in stepping into, and it's important to be authentically ourselves. And when we are triggered, it's important to work through that trigger. We get taught to like suppress it. We'll deal with it later. I can't deal with it now. This is
Yeah.
stressful. I'll deal
Yeah.
with it later. And then it shows up physically.
It just stacks up. And I want to,
Escalates.
before we go into meditation, I'd love to
Mm-hmm.
pick up on that theme of receiving, because it feels like one of, between that and self-love, is one of the hardest like things that need to change in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reflecting the other day, it's like thinking back over my software engineering career. It's like all those times that we had like hard technical problems to solve for customers, whether it was like scaling, a banking system to tens of millions of people, or reducing latency of a web page being served to like with ridiculous complexity, or launching a product and then having like really difficult bugs that needed solved like really fast. Almost every single time that we took leaps forwards solving any of those problems was not actually in the work environment itself, because the work environment was not conducive to that innovation aspect. And most commonly, a developer or I would come in the morning and go, in my morning run, right? Get this, guys. What about we just do this and this instead of this? And they're like, and they were laughing. It's like, oh, we don't need to know about your run. Oh, you run every day. Oh, great. Oh, that's lovely. And then we're like, no, no, no. Like, I, I think this is a great idea. And it came to me, and others would say,
Mhm.
oh, I was in the shower, I was
Yeah.
walking my dog, I was chatting with my partner when I said this out loud. And they're
Mhm.
like, and they suggested, and then that led me to think this. And some of these problems were like, multi-million pound problems
Mhm.
affecting, putting businesses with hundreds or thousands of people at high risk of like losing big contracts or losing their jobs. And so the intense pressure, and our reaction, our kind of traditional reaction to that is like, push harder, everybody, work so many
Mhm.
hours, and you constrain your ability to receive any of the ideas to so small, like this tiny little pinprick. And yet the time out is the thing, that the space to receive is an incredible gift to give people and to give yourself. In many respects, it's linked to your self-care, and it allows you to receive some of the biggest inspiration you could ever receive in your life. And I like outside of work, I also practiced for meditating every day, just asking initially the universe, and then as I developed my spiritual beliefs and abilities, talking to spirit guides and asking for messages for songs each day. And that's allowed me to create 2,400 songs in that time. And it's like, there's just no limits if you give yourself, in that case I gave myself 10 minutes, or like today, like give myself 10 minutes each day to receive.
Yeah.
If you do that, you're able to receive even more than you could possibly imagine. And and that's kind of the whole point, right? And we know this from so many artists, well, musicians and painters and people throughout history. They talk of these lots of different ways and lots of different kind of spiritual or practices that they give to it, but they often talk about some sort of a expansiveness, awareness, a higher aspect of themselves, a higher aspect of the universe or their God or whatever they believe in, that when they spend time in that space, they create this ability to receive, and they just set an intention. They're like, create some art, create an incredible dance, create a book,
Mhm.
create the problem to the software to solve a bug, like whatever it is that you're setting the intention to do. And I feel that's also going to be a big part of our journey, is understanding the problems that we face and being able to receive.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. They've actually brought out a few products for in the shower, where you can actually, it's like a whiteboard that's kind of like, you can actually write your ideas when you're in the shower.
Oh, that's
And
so
that's
cool.
such a, yeah, it is. It's awesome, because sometimes we get these streams of consciousness and they're in and they make sense, and sometimes they're out. So it's good to write them down. And it's any form of meditative state. I think a lot of the times when we think meditation, we need to sit down, close our eyes. Absolutely, that works. But meditative states are states like being in the shower, because you're not thinking wash arm, wash leg. It's in this kind of like automatic flow, and you're in water amplifies things as well. And it's
Mm.
kind of like it allows your mind to drift. Running is another form of meditation as well. And so is, I had a friend of mine who loved doing some sort of arts and crafts, and she's like, I'm not like you can't meditate. I was like, absolutely you do. You just do it in a different space. Your time and space disappear. What is the thing that you enjoy doing, where everything else disappears and you become expansive? So I think it's important to look at the different types of meditation, what ways work for one person and then the other. And yeah, let's jump in.
Fabulous. Yeah, let's we've talked about it a bit. Now let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's just do it. And yeah, I'd like to get us started with a really short meditation. And I'm just going to I'm going to create it on the fly, and then I'll just ask you, Natasha, to I'll just kind of introduce you in my meditation voice,
Okay.
and ask if there's anything you'd like to add. And yeah, I would encourage anyone, whether you've meditated or not, whether you feel you have the busiest mind and chaotic mind in the universe or not, um, it's accessible to everyone, and to know that it's okay. Like, even just listening to this, whatever you're doing is fine. I do recommend, if you're driving or operating heavy machinery or something that is risky to do whilst like taking your concentration off it, then perhaps you should pause and listen to this afterwards. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin. And so we'll begin by taking in 3 deep breaths, and just breathe as deeply as feels right for you. So take a deep breath in through the nose, and then breathe out through the mouth, nice and loud. And again, breathe in through the nose, nice and deep, and breathe out through the mouth, nice and loud. And this time, breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And now release any negative energy from yourself, nice and loud. And just allow yourself to breathe deeply and calmly. And I'd like you to join me in bringing your focus, your attention to your body at this time. And you could gently just reach up to the top of your head. Just become aware of your scalp, your hair, if you have hair, anything you're wearing on your head. And then bring your attention all the way down through your body, down through your legs, and then down to the tips of your toes. And each time we visit parts of our body, just ask your body, how are you doing at this time? How do your toes feel at this time? Are they needing rest? Are they needing movement? Are they feeling sore or nice and relaxed? And then bring your attention all the way back up to your chest and out across your arms, out to each of your fingertips. And again, just ask your body, how are my fingertips at this time? And coming back now to our chest area and to our hearts. And I'd like you to ask yourself a very important question that you could consider to ask yourself each day. And when we ask these questions, just allow your body to give you an answer. And our first question for our hearts and our bodies is, what can we do more for ourselves after this meditation to show that we truly love ourselves and can take better care of ourselves? And then one more question. What is it I can do in my life each day to show myself that I love myself more and more each day? And perhaps in these answers, there's silence, or you might feel a sensation in a specific part of your body. You might experience some memories some thoughts, or some visualizations of seeing yourself doing the things for yourself that will fill your body with that happiness and that love. And perhaps you'd like to hold on to the feeling of one of those just now. For me, it's doing some of the things I would do when I was a child, filling my heart with such joy, just holding that feeling of joy when we truly love ourselves in our hearts for a moment, for as long as we choose to. And I'd like to ask now my dear friend Natasha what she would like to add at this time.
So continuing to connect into your body, you will also ask yourself, what am I already doing to love myself? Physically, mentally, emotionally. And sometimes we forget to reflect on what we are already doing well. And ask yourself, if there was one thing that I could do today that would bring me joy, what would that be? And it might be taking a quiet moment. It might be having a conversation that expands you. But know that you're the single most important person in your life, as you're the only one that will be with you for the rest of your life. And as you continue to love yourself, you continue to allow others to love themselves. Giving them permission to care for themselves. And knowing that if we want to change the world around us, it has to happen from within. So how can I love myself more? Now take one moment to envision somebody that you love the most in this world and allow them to stand in front of you. And from your heart, send them the amount of love that you feel for them. And then when they're full of love, I want you to replace that person with an image of yourself. Send yourself the love that you give others. Because so many times it's easier to love others than it is to love ourselves. And this is a great way to start pouring love into yourself. And once that feels complete, allow that version of yourself to step into your body, feeling the complete love that you already are. Breathe that in. Anchor that feeling of love into your body and exhale. And when you are ready, we give thanks and gratitude for this meditation. When you are ready, open your eyes and take another deep breath and continue to love yourself for the rest of the day.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jon. That's awesome.
It was really beautiful. I definitely saw there was some room for extra self love in that version of Jon I saw in front of me. It's like, I think I'm pretty good. It's like, no, there's still
No.
space. Good news. There's about at least another 20%. And I was like, I can do this. And yeah, when I felt that version of me step in, I was like, look at the thing you're doing, Jon. You're doing like the podcast thing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, everything I do, I love myself for doing.
Someone do that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially for the humanness. It's starting to love the humanness of who we are as well, which that aspect of self-love helps as well. And I find, yeah, it's there's always more love, never less, that we can give.
Wow.
For sure.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for everyone that's watched the episode, both now and in, I'm sure, many years to come. And please do like look after yourself and find those things that you can do in your life to demonstrate, because love is a doing word, right? So it's a feeling,
Absolutely.
but it comes from the doing. And so definitely, find out all those things that you can do, that you are doing already, and that you can continue to do to grow your self-love. And we look forward to next time we're together, we'll have a third person. So
Absolutely.
and if you're watching this and you're interested in joining our podcast, we already have quite a lot of people that are interested, and we're excited to bring them on future shows. But if you'd like to register your interest, just let us know. I'll put some information in the description. And yeah, we're looking forward to sharing our problems and our experiences, and also more meditations through this podcast. So thank you so much, Natasha. It was amazing to get this started.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited. I'm so
I'm
excited.
so excited to work with you as well and to be of service. I think that's amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Natasha. Take care, everyone. Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Bye.